just a post today that might be of more interest for the potential students that might be coming out to do the Erasmus exchange like I'm doing for university, but it does also have some information about things I learned in terms of getting to Viborg and other things to be aware of. So, first thing, check your dates. I know it seems like a really simple thing, but when we were told that we'd be starting on a certain date, I assumed we only had the accommodation from that date. It turns out that we actually had the accommodation booked for a week before we arrive here. Now, you might not be able to come out here the full week before starting your placement 4 because you might be finishing off module 4. That's not a problem. You can always get out here the weekend of that last week just before you start the placement. I wasn't aware of this before I booked my flights, so I ended up travelling and then the next day home to start placement. It also meant that I missed out on some of the induction stuff, like being shown around via university campus and just introduction to the area. It wasn't a problem. I could catch up within that first week of being here, but I didn't get to do this with the other students, so it did feel like I was playing a bit of catch up in my first few days of being here. Point number 2. Check your accommodation. We all thought when we started that we would have the same accommodation facilities, that we were paying the same for our rent, everything like that we thought would be under the same cost. Unfortunately, that's not the case, so we didn't realise before we came out here that actually we were allocated different kinds of rooms and they came with different kinds of rent. When I got here, I found out that I was in more of a shared accommodation, so I've got my own room, but I don't have my own kitchen facilities. I've got like a little electric 2-piece hob, but I haven't got my own oven or microwave or anything like that. So I have to share that with 13 other students, which is problematic because there's only one shelf in the oven for one thing. So it is all about timing and trying to manage your facilities with other people. I don't think I would have minded so much about the accommodation if I had been warned about the fact that we would get different facilities from the beginning. Then I at least wouldn't have come in expecting the same facilities as other people or assuming that we were even paying the same amount of money for the facilities that we were given. I was quite upset as well because it was quite a shabby place I'd been given and there was a very foul smell coming from the bathroom, which has been rectified since I made a complaint about it, but it wasn't nice to be beginning my trip, going straight to placement the next day and not feeling like I was going to ever feel comfortable where I was going to be living for the next 3 months. I have written to the accommodation people since being here. I've managed to arrange paying an extra about £35 a month just to get one of the other studio apartments which the other students have, and that's in Delta Block. That's also where all the other international students are usually based, so I think it was just because of lack of spaces they had to put me in different accommodation, but it wasn't really outlined clearly from the beginning that we would all be in different accommodation which came with different costs. So it might be worth, if you know the other students that are going to be going with you, to just sort of match up your initial invoices for your first month away. That way you should be able to determine if you've got different facilities and who might be getting what kind of room. So you know when you're going to be going, you know where you might be going to, now it's about getting there. So next, how are you going to get here and where is the best place to go? When I first asked about what airport to go to, what would be easiest, I was given the options of either Aalborg or Billund. So I went for Billund, got the flights booked, and then I started hearing that it was really awkward to get from Billund to Viborg, where we'll be staying. There is a better transport available from Aarhus Airport, which will take you to Aarhus train station, and then you can get a train straight from there through to Viborg. I do think this is the easy way of doing it, and if it does cost a bit more on flights, I recommend it just because a 3-hour journey in a country that you've never been to can be very daunting. In the end, I was able to actually get someone to come pick me up from the airport, which was very kind of them, and I paid them the petrol money instead, but you might not be so lucky. So my advice would be just don't go to Billund Airport, go to Aarhus. Getting to know the language. The language can be a bit daunting at first. It does sound very different to how it looks as well. So if you are trying to teach yourself at home, I do recommend using YouTube pages which actually go through the pronunciation of words as opposed to just reading sort of text on what different words and phrases are that you can use. A note on the dialect. So I got a phrase book which has been really useful. However, you might find that some of the phrases don't really commonly get used. So when meeting patients, I thought it would be a good idea to learn a phrase, "nice to meet you." which in my book is translated as Die glede mij et treffe dig. But it's not really a commonly used phrase in Viborg. So every time I used it, people would look at me a bit confused and think, I'm not quite sure what she's trying to say. It's like, I'm trying to say, nice to meet you. So they told me that a better way of saying it would be De glad zie jeg, which means it's good to see you. So sometimes the way that we might say things to people might not be the same as what they're used to hearing. So it is good to try and learn some things before you come out here, but just be prepared that you might not be using the right phrases that they're familiar with in this certain area of Denmark. We thought we were going to get language lessons when we came out here, but I don't think the university funded it this year for us, so you might want to find out beforehand if you are going to get that opportunity or not. It's not a problem because everyone does speak very good English, despite them apologising that they don't speak good English. I'm not sure why they're so apologetic about it, because their English is very good. I just feel personally, if you're coming to another country, it's nice to make an effort. And apparently they do really appreciate when English people try to speak their language. It makes them happy. So if you can try and get a basic grasp of some phrases and terminology, then you'll be a little bit ahead when you get out here. And finally, I don't want it to sound like I've been using this as a moaning platform for my experience so far. I'm just highlighting the little things which might make it easier for when you get here, so that you can just settle in a lot quicker and get on with enjoying the Danish culture, because it is a lovely country. I have thoroughly enjoyed it so far, so please don't be put off by anything I've said. I'm just purely putting it out there just to make it a bit easier for anyone else that might be coming out next year. If you do have any other questions, please post anything in the comments below, and I'll try and answer your questions either in the comments or by posting another video if I feel it's appropriate. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment and share below. You can also subscribe by clicking the pinpoints logo on the screen now, or you can watch any of my other videos. Thanks for watching.